Plaintiff Jennifer Andrews says she and her husband Chuck loaned money to a trusted friend. But instead of repaying them, that friend posted vicious insults on Facebook. She's suing for $1,312. Defendant Eric Vollmer says he's paid off the loans. In fact, he overpaid.
The whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
So help me God. Case 145 on the docket, Andrews versus Vollmer.
Okay, and welcome. Let me see. We have the plaintiff, Ms. Andrews.
Yes.
You are suing the defendant, Mr. Vollmer, for $1,312 for a car, transmission, and a personal loan.
Yes.
Let me hear your side of the case.
Well, I'm suing Mr. Vollmer today because I gave him a series of loans and he failed to repay it. Instead, he just took advantage of me and then threatened me and called me evil, manipulative, liar. And then he put that all on Facebook when, in fact, I just want my money back.
So what happened? Tell me the case.
My husband, Chuck, has
Yes.
his own case against Vollmer. Well, it's a mix, but they're all in a car club together.
Yes.
And Chuck totaled his Lincoln, and Vollmer wanted it for parts or whatever, and so...
Okay, so you totaled your car.
I did. There's two deals here, Your Honor.
Yes.
I totaled my car. We met through the car. He had the same kind of car that I had.
Okay.
Wanted it for parts. We came up with an agreement of $400. He got everything except for the transmission. The transmission was new. I just paid $1,700.
So you wanted to hold on to the transmission of the car.
Well, he could take it to his house, but
Yeah.
you know, but the transmission was $1,700. It did not. That was not part of the agreement.
But the rest of the car was his to use for parts, sell them, whatever.
Yep. Signed title over to him. He took it.
But he didn't have the money to pay for it, so instead we worked up a barter deal where he was going to paint my deck and paint my living room, just one wall, paint my bathroom, do some, odds and ends around the house in exchange for this car.
Were the items that you expected him to do in payment for the car parts, or for the car, was that written down? Or?
Yeah, he was actually painting my deck, and I just wrote it on an envelope that I had laying around that what we agreed
and
we
he
were gonna
signed
do.
it? Do you have that here?
We didn't sign it. We didn't think it was going to be an issue. Vollmer's a great guy, and he's a good friend.
These are manufactured lies, Your Honor. I just have to interject for one moment. As far as the car and transmission goes, the car is completely totaled, and by getting it off their property was doing them a favor. And to salvage my friendship with Chuck Andrews here, did set up a payment plan, which I did have established with him.
Okay, and the payment plan for the transmission was what?
That's not true. I have our agreement in writing where he asked if he could have he wrote me here that his Lincoln, because his original car died and he wasn't going to put any more money into his Caprice, whatever he wrote here.
I've never had any dead cars, Your Honor.
I have his text message right here that he wasn't going to put any more money into it. He was going to try to make his Lincoln more street worthy, and he wanted Chuck's Lincoln. And Chuck told him, you can't just have my transmission. And Vollmer said, well, fine then, you can just have this car back. I'm going to dump it off at your house. And then what he did in fact do was bring it to my work.
Some agreement was made that you would sell the car to the defendant.
For $400, he got everything but the transmission.
Secondly, what is this about? At what point did you want to buy the transmission?
When the transmission in his car went out.
Well, the car is completely totaled and the transmission is compromised. The car still
Was
sits...
a deal made for you to buy the transmission from him at any point?
Yeah.
So now there's a deal whereby you will buy the transmission, and how much was that for?
$700, which I satisfied $450 of.
What was the payment plan on each of these items? The first item being the car, which was bought for the parts.
That he was going to, in trade...
For $400.
Right.
Yeah.
He was going to paint our deck.
Oh, that's right. That's
Right,
okay.
right.
That's there.
Right.
Now for the transmission was $700.
Yeah,
And the payments are made how much a
Well, he
week?
came over
Or
with
what,
the
a month?
laptop.
$50 a week for the transmission, Your Honor, and $75 a week for the separate loan with Miss Andrews.
Yes.
Okay, tell me about the separate loan with you.
After he, didn't do my painting, then he ended up buying his own house. And I says, oh, I'm never going to see you now. You're never going to have time to work on my house. Oh, yes, we will. Yes, we will. Okay, so then like a couple weeks later, he now has no car. And we're friends with him. And he needed a car. I work at a car lot. And I said, well, what kind of a car would you be interested in? And he doesn't have any money. He doesn't know what he's going to do. Nobody would step up to the plate to help him. Not his friends, not his family, nobody. Well, I didn't want to see him lose his good job. And he just bought a house. So I said, fine, pick out a car. I'll help you get it. So he wanted like a 1999 Buick Park Avenue. So he buys Chuck goes over, pays the man. Then Vollmer comes back over with his laptop again. We set up this payment plan of $75 a week.
Okay, for that loan that you gave him, which was, how much was the loan?
$17.87 and some change.
And he would pay you back?
$75 a week.
$75 a week. Okay. So basically, there are two obligations here so far.
Yes.
There's the $50 a week for the transmission
Yes.
till you get to $700.
Yes.
And there's $75 a week until you get to $17.87.
Yes.
And that's for the car. Okay,
And I'm
those
not
are.
charging him any interest. And I
Okay.
took this out on my credit card, which is interest, but I didn't
Okay,
charge him.
okay.
Well, a couple weeks later, that car dies. Oh, shocker.
That car never died, Your Honor.
So
I
he
sold
ended
it
up-
because I needed money.
And then, but he didn't pay me back with the
Okay.
money that he sold the car for. In fact, I've got
I
in
have
a text.
receipts for the car and all the checks that she cashed, equating to $160 more than what the car was worth.
On the $1,787 loan to buy the car, and you were going to pay back at $75 per week.
Correct, Your Honor.
How much of that was paid back, and where is the evidence of that? Because that's what's at stake.
$1,950 of that was paid, so an additional $160, Your Honor. If you're interested, I have the evidence of the car receipt and the check she had cashed by date in order.
Okay, I'll take a look at that. Thank you. Okay,
And
again.
here's also the car at the lot.
He still owes $450 for the transmission.
Negative.
Why?
I paid $450 of that. I discontinued the payments at $450.
Oh, you paid $450.
Correct.
Sorry.
He owes $350.
Okay.
I owe $250.
$250
Or
makes
they
$70.
can have the thing back because the transmission is completely useless to me. The car is totaled. I can't get the transmission out.
You agreed to buy that for $700. You paid $450, and
Correct.
that means you still owe $250 on that.
The problem here is that his bank sends me these checks every week.
These are not personal checks, Your Honor.
I still
These
have
are checks that he went to his bank and the
I
bank
haven't even
sent to us,
opened them.
not him. His bank sent them to us.
I
Well,
can't
what-
cash them. There's no money in the account to cash them, and then
Those
I've
are
got.
images only of the checks that were cashed, not the ones that were processed and sent. If you want to count the ones that you were sent, there would be over 30 checks.
Okay.
There's never been any qualms until all of a sudden I get papers in the mail. I never had any problem with you about that piece of shit Lincoln that's going to end up right back on your property, and never about this loan that you stole money from me for. I never agreed to barter any toys or any house. The shit I did equates to way more than any of this money that's even worth you arguing about
No,
anything. You're lying.
hey.
You're the liar.
You do that again, and you're out of here.
I'm not going to keep depositing checks that are worthless. That's why I'm short the money.
You received over 30 checks. You had 5 extra. They canceled the extra checks. And when I confronted you on it, you blocked me. All I did was ask you why you cashed
No,
them.
you
You said
called
wrong
me
number and you
names.
completely blocked me. And then I get court papers.
Well, that is true because he was calling me evil. I'm on meth.
Okay.
You know, I'm just whatever, and I didn't want to hear any more of that stuff. I'm
Yeah,
a
the
grown
truth
woman.
hurts. I know.
Yeah. So, anyways, yes, Your Honor, they did send the check, so they may have sent me 24, but they're
25
absolutely
checks that you
I
cashed on
can't-
top of 30-something.
He is telling the truth.
Your Honor,
This
I'm
is-
not
this
here to
part is
countersue.
true.
I don't have them.
I know you're not countersuing them. Yeah, I get that. I do have here the copies of the check and your endorsement on it.
The $75 one?
Ultimately, these checks were good and cashed
Can I see
and
that?
dated and endorsed. Yeah, your signature's on every one of these.
Well, there's so much. Would you hold the checks? They could have been.
You have.
Well, I'm not saying you're lying. I'm not getting into any of that. I'm saying I understand there was back and forth.
Just want to make sure that the dates weren't duplicate. And then he sent me the letter that says, "Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. I did my math must have been wrong."
That
Well,
was before the end of all the
If he
checks,
would have
Your
just
Honor.
communicated that to me.
When? What is the
13,
date on
I'm sorry,
that? What is the
exactly.
date on that?
Yes, what's the date on that?
The dates are not duplicated at all.
Okay.
I'm just looking at that just so you
All
can be
right.
sure of that.
Well, this was Christmas, so this would have been December because he asked me not to cash any because it's Christmas, and then he said, "Would you please wait till the 13th to cash the next check? I don't have enough
I
funds
made
in my
very,
account."
very careful that she got paid her $17.87, and then discovered she got $160 more.
But he
regardless
wouldn't-
of what they say, Your Honor, the checks are right there.
But then
I
instead
have
of him
the
telling
evidence
me
on my
that,
phone. I have all the emails of the notifications that the checks are being
Well,
processed.
they're saying that you owed $17.88 for the Buick.
Correct.
You're saying that you overpaid it by about $200,
$160, yes.
$160. You owe them $250.
Technically for, yes. if I was-
$250 on the transmission.
Correct.
So I am finding in favor of the plaintiff of $90.
Thank you.
Hey YouTube, check out my new show, Judge Jerry. Now for sneak preview and behind the scenes footage, subscribe to my channel now.